Hey everyone, Boardgame Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I have a prototype copy here of Forge. It's a worker placement game by Fundamental Games. So you're running your own forge now, and you have a basic blacksmith shop with the tools that you need to forge simple items, or maybe even some bigger items. You even have assistants to help you, and of course, you have your blacksmith to forge the items. Players will be competing against each other to gain the most points by forging items, by gaining gold and gems, upgrading their shops, fulfilling achievements, and collecting guild seals. Each player has their own player board, which they start the game with 2 assistants and 1 blacksmith. The blacksmith functions as like a super assistant that can be used to take better actions. After a round of placing all workers out, everyone will gain another assistant, and the next round they will gain their 4th assistant, which also gives you a skill point, which I will explain later on. At that point, you will keep playing the game with your 4 assistants and your blacksmith until the end of the game. Player order is then determined by the order that your hammer is on this track. A random player will start and choose which location they would like to be in, and they will gain the reward shown next to it. So then you will have your turn order set up by the player who is in the first position and going down to the last position. After a round, the player who is last in order will be able to place their hammer down in whichever location they would like, except for the last 4th location. Then the player that was second last gets to choose a location. And this continues as players get to choose where they want to go in turn order or what resource they want to collect. On your turn, you'll be placing out one of your workers. You'll be placing them out on the board to take an action. This will mostly be on the main board, but not always. There are some actions on your player board. Let me go over where you can go, where you can visit, and why you might want to go there. There are these top locations. They will give you resources, and when using an assistant, you will place it on the highest listed number, and you will take that many items of that resource. If another worker is already in a spot, you will only be able to take the lower spot. If all spots are taken, then you won't be able to go there. Now, there is a spot for your blacksmith, and when placing your blacksmith out on this location, you will gain the number of resources on the highest uncovered assistant spot +1. This can work when no one has visited the area yet, when assistants have filled up some of the spots, or when they are all filled in. And in that case, you will only gain 1 resource because 0 + 1 is 1. Resources are used to either forge items that need those resources, or they are used to upgrade your shop. Both we will cover soon. This next line consists of some of the more specific type of actions that you can take. Any number of assistants can go on the trading post, and there you can perform 2 transactions. This can be buying 2 items, selling 2 items, or buying 1 item and selling 1 item. When both buying or selling, the cost is the listed price when doing both of those actions that's shown on the board. Money is gained mostly by forging items, or some by joining guilds, or lastly, maybe selling your resources here at the trading post. Also, brick is needed for some of the equipment that you need in your shop, shown on your player board. Brick can be gained here or when deciding player order, but it's also not one of the main important resources that you'll need throughout the game. The plaza can be visited by each player only once per round, and here you will pay 2 gold per assistant on this location, including the one that you just placed, to then take your blacksmith from its current location and place it in any other position on the game board and perform the action as a blacksmith. This place lets you take advantage of your blacksmith, which again is like a more powerful worker most of the time. The guilds can be visited by only your blacksmith. Here you can either take the top card from the guild discard pile, the one that you can see face up, or you can draw 2 cards from the deck. Choose one, and then place the other back in the discard pile. The guild cards provide an immediate reward of the listed gold and the resource shown. But also the main effect is they reward a guild seal of a specific color. You are wanting to collect as many sets of different colored guild seals as you can. There are 7 different colors, and you can collect multiple groups of how many ever different guild seals that you have. These seals will also show up on other cards throughout the game, like on your contract cards, on development cards. Some show up on training cards for your workers, and so they're all over the place. At the end of the game, a set of 7 different colors rewards you with 20 points. A set of 6 will give you 15 points. A set of 5, 11 points. A set of 4 will give you 8 points. And a set of 3, 5 points. A pair will give you 3 points. And 1 itself will give you 1 point. In addition, there are 7 different achievements in this game. The player, to fulfill its requirement, will be able to drop their hammer on the top most available slot and score the points associated with its order. The first player to drop their hammer in each achievement spot earns 5 points. If you're second, 3 points. If you're third, you gain 2 points. And if you're fourth, you gain 1 point. One of these spots has to do with the first player to gain 4 different guild types. When you do this, you will drop one of your 5 hammers in one of the spots and gain the points related to its position in that slot. There are 7 different spots and you have 5 hammers, so you won't be able to do or accomplish all of them. Also, it's worth mentioning that a player cannot place their 5th hammer down if they haven't already accomplished this last spot, which is forging items from 3 different contract types. This board and dropping your hammers on it is also a timer for the game, as the game will end when a player places their 5th hammer on the achievement board. Now on to the next row of the main board. There are 3 locations that all work the same. You go there to gain contract cards of different types. Brown cards are common items that you can make, gray are military items, and purple are royal items. You can visit these spots with your assistant to take 1 card of that type, either the one on the discard pile or one on top of the deck. Your blacksmith will take 2 cards in the same way. These are the cards that you need that include the plans to build things. Then you need the resources, again visiting these top locations. Each item will list the requirement it needs on the left side. Many times this will be a certain skill level, which is tracked by your star track, or it will show an icon that matches a spot on your player board. In that case, you will need to gain that specific listed equipment before completing that contract card. These cards will grant money and points when they are completed, but just because you have everything that you need doesn't mean that it's considered built or constructed. You will need to take the forge action to do this, and at the end of each round, each player is granted 1 free forge action, or a player can use their blacksmith to place it here on their player board and then take a forge action. Once you have done that, you will place the card on the side of your board in the Forged Contract section. The last row of the main board provides players to take specific cards or to upgrade their equipment in their shops. Players can take these actions by choosing to place their worker on the chosen side to either take the top card of its discard pile or to draw 2 cards from the deck, choose one to take, and discard the other. The middle spot lets you choose one side or the other, and similarly, the blacksmith spot also does the same thing, lets you choose one side or the other if it's not taken. Here you can take a development card, and the development cards give you powerful effects in the game. These cards could include a guild stamp, ways to gain gold, or have a discount when paying gold. They could benefit you to gain more resources or to give you victory points for doing a specific task. All of these cards are different, but they give you some type of benefit. You can only gain 4 of them in total in the game, and when you do that, you will be able to drop one of your hammers on this spot on the achievement board in the order that you accomplished it. The middle location is where you upgrade your equipment, and this takes us to your player board. You start with each token on top of the points associated with that upgrade, and you will either upgrade 1 from the top or 1 from the bottom, depending on where you place your worker. You will then pay the cost listed, which is some resource and gold. You'll then move your token on top of the matching icon to gain the listed bonus, and at the end of the game, you will gain the uncovered points. The chisels and the tongs are needed for some of the contracts to be fulfilled. The hammer gives you the benefit to pay 1 less metal to forge weapons or armor. The Vice gives you the ability that when you acquire contract cards, you get to draw 1 extra and then you'll discard 1 extra. If you upgrade all of the equipment on the bottom row, then you get to drop your hammer on the achievement board, and same with the top. If you upgrade all 4 items on the top, then there is another space on the achievement board to drop a hammer. The wagon on the top lets you gain +1 wood when visiting the forest and +1 metal when visiting the mountain. The anvil lets you gain 2 gold each time you forge an item listed on a contract card. The forge gives you a skill which is represented by a star, and when doing the forge action, you can now forge 2 items. Skill is tracked by this track and is required by many items for you to be able to forge them. You start the game with no skill, but can gain it throughout the game by upgrading to the forge or the grindstone here on your player board. When you gain your 4th assistant, you will gain 1 skill. And then various cards can give you skills throughout the game. These are development cards, guild cards, or training cards. So when you're trying to forge items, be aware that you might need to move up on your skill track if that item requires a higher skill to do so. Also, you'll be able to drop your hammer on the achievement board when getting to 5 stars or 5 skill. And when you get to your 6th skill, you will gain 5 points, moving your star off to the side where the points are listed. And then lastly, the grindstone will give you a skill, and this item is sometimes needed to forge specific items. This last spot on the main board is for training your assistants. You can, like other cards, take the top card on the discard pile or 2 from the deck, choose one of them to keep and the other discarded. These cards are assigned to that specific worker who went to that location, and they will gain that ability listed on that card. These abilities vary widely, but should be used with your strategy the best way that you can. When gaining your 4th training card, you will also be able to drop one of your hammers down on the achievement board. So those are all of the worker placement spots that you can place your workers on. We've talked about all that. We've talked about all the achievements that can be done to gain points, dropping your hammers down, and of course gaining the points associated to the order that you placed your hammer. The game continues until a player drops their 5th hammer, and at that point, the round is finished with players continuing to place all of their workers for that round, and after that, the points are tallied up. You will have scored some points throughout the game, but you will have a lot of them at the end. You will be able to count up your gold, and every 5 gold is 1 point. Every leftover gem is 1 point. The points from your upgrade on your player board are added up. Contract cards all have points listed on the bottom right, and some abilities have ways to gain extra points on them for in-game scoring, and you'll do those. Points from all of your hammers on the achievement board will then score you those points. And lastly, you will have to make groups with your guild seals using as many cards as you can to make sets of different colored guild seals. Depending on the size of those groups, you will score a different number of points associated with each group. The player then with the most points at this point at the end of the game wins the game. And, well, that's Forge. It's a worker placement game of forging items, upgrading your shop and assistants, and racing all other players to fulfill the possible achievements that you can do. It's a game that surprisingly doesn't take all too much time to play, yet provides a strategic game that requires a lot of planning up front, and then watching the dominoes fall later in the game. What I mean by that is that you most likely want to choose development cards and training cards, as you can take advantage of their abilities throughout the game. So you want to do that up front. And really in this game, you want to try to fold over as many things as you can that will help you in more than one area. So gaining stars or gaining skills in the game will help you to get towards that 5-star achievement, but also will help you to forge many items. Abilities or training cards can help you specialize your assistants to get that achievement, but it will also give you abilities to do other things. Maybe help you upgrade your shop more easily, or maybe also gaining a skill point or getting a discount on something else. Then you want to keep in mind that you have that set collection aspect in the game, because it can really benefit you, and the points at the end of the game, is significant. So during the game, like if you need to get some resources, but maybe not a lot of them, instead of going to get a lot of them in the forest or something, maybe just go and get a guild card and gain the one resources that you need, plus some money, plus the guild seal. Or search out specific training cards or development cards that give you certain seals that you want. Some give you 2, and if you really want to head and start that way, it gives you a good head start. Overall, I like the idea of the game. I like how players are placing their hammers down when completing achievements, and it's kind of, being a race with all the other players to be able to do that. The only issue I see is that some of the achievements seem to be easier to gain than others, or also it makes more sense strategically to go after those than others. When I look at the 7 achievements, I know I want to maximize the most and try to place all my hammers down. Well, I already know that I need to forge 1 of each contract type to place my 5th down, but I can more likely get my other 4 down faster than that 1. So that's my last achievement that I'm going to plan on getting. So since forging often requires skill upgrades, I might as well try to get to my skill to 5. I mean, many of the royal contracts and others require a lot of skill. Even if they only need me to get 3, then finding ways to go up 2 more to drop my hammer isn't bad. So that's 1 on my list. That's what I'm going after. Then getting 4 development cards is probably the easiest one to do. This is simply taking that action to get a card that will benefit me somehow in the game. So why not just go there at the beginning and get those cards that will help me move forward? And if I don't see any good ones in the discard pile that I really want, I can wait and see kind of what others do and then hurry and get my 4th one before everyone else does. This is the same strategy in the training cards as well. It makes sense to go there early in the game to get the benefits that can benefit me later in the game, but also it will only cost me 4 actions to do that. Just going there and getting that card. So getting 4 development cards is a must for me. 4 training cards is a must. 5 skill is a must, most likely. And then the last one, which will almost happen even without even trying, is 4 different guild seals. Guild seals can really help with the points at the end of the game. And if you don't play the set collection game, then you're probably not going to do well in the game. So that's my other hammer. The 2 that don't make too much sense for me strategically are the upgrades. The upgrades can be good, and some might be necessary for you to forge certain items, but to go after all 4 and investing all that money and resources into those just doesn't make sense to drop my hammer for those. They don't all contribute towards a common goal like the others. Remember, the more things that you fold over and overlap, the better you will do strategically in this game. But I haven't played this game to break it. I haven't played it enough to say this way would be foolish, you got to play it this other way. And again, the game can still change with some of these details to better balance it out and better balance these achievements even. And, I could just be flat out wrong as well, which could be very well true. But the truth is, even if you take those 2 achievements out, it is still a fun race for those other 5, even if all other players are trying to go after the same things. So we did actually really enjoy this game. We liked that it didn't take longer to play, so the timing is pretty good. It's not going to take all day to figure out how to play it. It's not going to take all day to play it. The player order later in the game becomes more and more important as you're racing to finish those achievements. And if everyone is thinking the same way as I do, then they're going to be going after the same ones as I am. So grow your shop with your blacksmith, your family, and your friends in Forge, a worker placement game by Fundamental Games. Again, this is Board Game Brody, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.